Hi, everybody. My name is Charlie Campos. I'm the Adaptive PE Specialist at Arcata Unified School District in Southern California. This is my presentation, Virtual Adaptive PE, What to Do with What You Got. I hope you enjoy this presentation. I've been teaching for 10 years as an Adaptive PE Specialist. I taught with the Los Angeles County Office of Education, and I currently teach for Arcata Unified. I teach the elementary and the secondary autism and secondary SDC classes at many different sites. My wife and kids and I love to go camping every summer. We have a family motto every summer to not be here. So we love the outdoors, which is the perfect fit for me. I love teaching outside with all my students and everything. My first impression when we started doing virtual learning is we're not built for this. So it's been very, very challenging for me as an adaptive PE specialist and also for me as a deaf individual. I use a cochlear implant to be able to communicate with students, teachers, and colleagues. And the challenges with technology is slow internet, everybody on the internet at the same time, outdated technology that could really affect our ability to have meetings and live sessions. So as you can see, there are many different platforms. The most widely used today is Google Meet and Zoom. My district uses Google Meet, and it's really been a benefit for me because for me personally, it has lifetime captioning, which I can read when everybody's talking during the meeting. And the other platform that they have is Zoom. It's not very ideal for me because the captioning feature is not lifetime. And it's challenging for me to be able to keep up in a meeting. So I use an app called Otter AI. It's a transcription app which can record the people talking off the computer and change it into words. And it goes live time and allows me to follow along with what is being said on the section. And here we are on Zoom. Like I mentioned, we do with what we got. My method for teaching online is I teach a hybrid course. What I do is I have one live session in group, and then I push out a video through Google Classroom, and I try to encourage the students and the parents to watch the video and work at their own pace and to watch as many times as they want to. And I've also set up a AP Bitmoji Classroom, so they're able to access the videos and able to contact me as well. I teach a variety of skills starting from the fundamental locomotor skills all the way up to physical fitness for my middle and secondary school students. And I tried to keep it simplified because of the space indoors. Majority of my students during the live session are indoors. So it's very, very challenging, especially with the limited space as well as the limited use of equipment. So I'm not super tech savvy, so I try to keep it really simple and allow for smooth transition in between each concept for every lesson that I'm teaching with the students. This is my AP Bitmoji Classroom, and this is where the students or the parents can go to access the videos. I have an activity video, which is the main chunk of the video that's very similar, and it also reflects what I'm teaching in the live section. So that way they can practice and then constantly practice repetition, practice sequencing, motor planning, things like that. And I have a video that links to my warm-up exercises because one of the big things I like to emphasize is routine. So the warm-up exercises that we do are the same exercises for every class. It's different between elementary and between the secondary level, but it's the same exercise we do, so I encourage them to warm up before they start the video. And you can see here, I have an enrichment video. This is like a YouTube go noodle get moving video, like just fun video for them to watch. And it's totally optional. They have videos like Squatchy Rock, with like moving up and down, playing music. And then they have different songs that are played by different, like Banana Banana Meatball. So that's really fun for the kids. They really seem to enjoy that as well. And I have a YouTube channel. Of course, everybody is starting to develop more and more YouTube channels, especially since we've gone virtual. And I allow these students who are able to access their computers independently to come on here and watch my YouTube videos. And I have a variety of exercises here: jump rope skills, ping pong fun, physical fitness. So I allow them to have access to that. And my videos are made for children. So that way they can be able to watch the video and learn from it. And there's a variety. I also have my AP colleagues. We also watch each other's AP videos for inspiration and for ideas also. And this is my form of communication. This is what it looks like on my email at the end of my signature on the bottom, whenever I send out an email. The reason I'm sharing this is I wanted to show where the access is for communication. You can see where it's my name and my title, my district, and you can see there's a link to my virtual office and then office hours. I try to make sure that I maintain that communication and make myself available. So when I send an email to a parent, I can say it's right there on the bottom of my email, so it's easy for them to access it because it's right there on every email that I send. I want to make everything in communication accessible as possible for the parents if they have any questions or concerns that I really want to be available for them. This is my virtual office, and so when they click on my virtual office, this is what they're going to see. It's a bit silly, but I like to, keep things loose and have a promote a positive image as well. The background is the track where I teach at the high school, so they can click on the YouTube pictures if they want to see the YouTube pages, if they want access to the AP curriculum, or just any exercise videos they want to do with their kids. And there's my virtual office hours, which is a link which I'm going to show you. It connects to a calendar making website that allows parents to go online and click on the link, and then when they click on that link, they can schedule a meeting with me, and I'll get an email, they'll get an email. This is Calendly. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that. The parents can go on here and they can see the days that I have office hours. They just simply pick a date and then they confirm that appointment. It will send them an email, me an email, and it will automatically connect to the Google Calendar. So that way we have in our calendars along with the link to have the meeting. And I try to make myself available for any questions, concerns they have. And this is actually very easy to set up. As I mentioned before, I'm not very tech savvy, but this is actually very easy to set up. And then on to my lessons that I teach. I have students that share common goals and common objectives. And so I have pictures of my YouTube video. The first one is thrown to a target on the elementary school level that I have here. Down here. Elementary, so throwing a locomotive. So on this one, I was using the equipment, which I will show you, and doing a throwing lesson with the students. I was also teaching this in the live session. On the bottom is an example of physical fitness. I have students who are ambulatory and non-ambulatory, so I've always made sure that I do the exercise and do the modified exercises for my students that are non-ambulatory. So my goal is when I plan my lesson is to take all of those goals and objective and kind of like tie them all together. And then so that way they share similar goals. That when I'm doing my lesson, each one of those students are making progress towards their goal by working on their objectives. And these are screenshots of my YouTube videos that I have here. So these are indoors. This was during the time where it was just really warm weather. Equipment. So one of the things I'm really thankful for is my colleague Carol, who I work with, absolutely amazing creative mind, and she came up with the idea for an APE kit, in which we have purchased the majority of these things from the Dollar Tree, the 99-cent store. And the list I have over here are the things that we included in the APE kit, and we worked on it together to making them. Some of the items that were bought at the Dollar Tree, some at the 99-cent store, some that we purchased through our district. And you can see that we had a lot of baskets. I think we were making baskets for almost 80 elementary students. It was quite a bit of work, but it was a great way to spend time together and come up with all these ideas. So I give her full 100% credit to her. So this is an example of what's in the kit. So we have the basket, and the basket has a myriad of uses for throwing things in, for keeping the equipment together. And the basket we purchased at the Dollar Tree. And the ball that I have there, a bounce ball and a basketball. I added the basketball later for my secondary student. We purchased at the 99-cent store. And we have a paper plate with the ton of pressure taped onto the back. That's really good for striking skill. The kids can just bump things up. This also includes a balloon. So what they do is they be able to practice striking and able to practice catching with the balloon. We try to keep it really, really simple. And we have the chalk and the tape. The chalk is good for drawing patterns outside, such as a hopscotch pattern or polyspa, squares, and circles. So the kids can do activities outside if they have their own chalk. This equipment that we made for the students, we gave to them to keep, so they could play with it anytime they wanted to. And the tape is really good for indoors to set up like patterns, like making a line for jumping over, or just different types of shapes, or walking on a line. Just different myriad, different uses depending on the lesson, because having this equipment really expands the lesson, really gives you more ideas. You can use more than one idea for every object you have. And we have the jump rope with a jump rope skill for practicing double dutch and just working on bilateral skills as well, or working on the fundamentals of jumping. And we have the cone, which is really good for locomotor activities, going from point A to point B. And students can also do like a little bit of a relay where they could put the basket at one cone with the beanbags inside. They could run, hop, skip, or gallop, and then pick up the beanbag and then run, hop, skip, gallop back and keep going until all the beanbags are out of the basket. This really helps you to come up with different ideas, especially when our lessons are for a short time frame with the reduced school day. And we have solo cups we can use for stacking cups and for kicking for the really young elementary school students to practice their kicking skills. The bean bags are homemade, so we got a measuring bag from the Dollar Tree and we filled it up with half a bag of rice. Then we folded it over and then we taped it over with packing tape. It makes it very durable, and there's a myriad of use of throwing and catching, self-toss, self-catch with both hands or one hand. So there's many different things they can use this equipment for. And this is my setup that I have. This is my backyard. I had two easy ups in my garage. One of them was left over from my friend's shaved ice business, and that was kind of cool because I had penguins on the top, and the kids loved it. And I also had another easy up, the black one, which is closer to the back, which also keeps the heat out. I bought shower curtains for $10, which in the back helps to basically keep the light out. When there is a lot of light shining from behind, it can cause a black silhouette in the ground. It makes it very hard for them to see you on the screen. So I tried to do is I later added a black fabric curtain behind those shower curtains. I bought them for $10 at Walmart. And it helped to basically reduce the light that's behind me because of where the sun was, and also keep the heat out, and it helps you have better, they can see you better. There's not so much shadow. And the other example I have here is my indoor space, which is in half. So I'm teaching inside. I kind of have to minimize it a little bit with a smaller space. A majority of my students are indoors, so they also have a small space, sometimes smaller. So I try to keep it really simple for they're able to move around into a space. I encourage them to go outside if they can. So that's actually been very good too. I've added the anatomy board and everything on the back, just a little more of the image to make it feel like a PE classroom. And this is my high-tech setup. It took some time and a while to set up and packing it all up. So I had a projector and a projector screen I purchased on Amazon. My original idea was projecting it onto the screen so I could have a bigger view of what's on the screen because it was kind of hard to see on a small screen. That I'm able to see the students moving and provide positive or corrective feedback and just encouraging them and see how they're moving with their skill and then provide any prompts needed. I've had a really great support staff that has joined my virtual lesson that help to join our lesson to help provide the feedback to the students so that way I can keep teaching. And so I have the portable projector that I purchased on Amazon hooked up to my computer through an HDMI cord that projects it onto a screen as well. And for my recording section, I use a tripod, like a cheap Turkish tripod, and I put my phone inside there. And then once I had it all set up, I received as a gift a Bluetooth shutter remote. And this is really, really handy piece of tool you can have because you can push the remote, not worry about running up to the camera and running right back up to the camera. So that way it allows you to be able to push it, start your recording, and then you can do your lesson and push it again without really leaving your space. My little trick that I did was I pressed record and then I stood there for about 10 seconds and then I started teaching. Then when I was done, I stood there for 10 seconds. And then when I edited my videos later, I took the front end and the back end, I cut those out. So it looked like I started teaching all the way up start to finish. So it's a really handy piece of tool. I totally recommend it. You can find it online as well. If you're not into the high-tech setup and it's really complex, a lot of time consuming involved setting up, especially if you have a lot of classes throughout the day, this is a much more simplified setup. I found a table on the side of the road when I was driving by, and I thought that would be great for teaching. So I cleaned it up a little bit, and I drilled a hole in the back, and I bought a $20 beach umbrella from Walmart, and I stuck it in the back, and it keeps the sun and the light off the computer. And I thought, very, very simple setup, and it's easy to move it around too. Once you get the perfect, you don't have to worry about moving your computer around too much. You can just set it right there and get the right angles. I have a fan on the bottom as well that I bought from Walmart, and that helps to keep me cool. It would be like blowing air on me during the hot days to keep me cool so I could keep teaching and everything. And my equipment is nearby on hand, so if you don't want to really go to all the trouble of having a huge, big setup, and then I totally recommend to simplify. This is a really great way to simplify, especially if you go shopping at thrift stores, all kinds of cool stuff there. So one of the biggest questions, I guess, regarding assessment, currently with my district, we are not doing in-person assessments for APs, so we're doing it on a very limited scale, and we're making an exception for some initial and special cases, such as medical cases. And so currently, how we are doing our assessment is we're doing review of records. We're basically reviewing past records for students we've worked with or new students that may be coming in from a different district and kind of basing on a diagnostic assessment, like basically looking at where the student is functioning and then work from that level, if not to improve in that level. So that's what we are doing. In the meantime, some of our assessments are being postponed until we're able to reopen safely in person. We have weekly assessment meetings with our assessment team, along with the district nurse, that we get recent information from the CDC and the Los Angeles Department of Public Health. And if there's any change, and that we're aware of those changes, we're aware of what is happening on that level, we're aware of how the state is changing, as well as establishing protocols for in-place testing to keep ourselves and the students safe. So that way we'll be able to establish where they're functioning at in a very safe and sterile environment. So that's why it's very important that we have a team to be in touch with the district nurse, being aware of what is happening and how it's going to affect our district. And so the takeaway I hope for this, for you especially, is these are challenging times for all of us as educators and as parents. And just remember, you are not alone in this. Okay, we are here for each other. You are teaching APE, and you're also a parent with children who are in school. So I really encourage you to join an APE group on Facebook and Instagram. Pretty easy to set that up. Reach out to friends, families, and colleagues. It's really important to maintain that human connection. Many of us would go by and just go like, a human. So it's really important to establish that for our emotional well-being and our mental well-being. So I encourage you, that's why we have this conference, so we can see each other, catch up on old time, sharing ideas and lessons, talking about our kids, talking about our family. It's very, very important to maintain that human connection. It's very, very vital to us to build up that strong level so that we could be strong for ourselves and for our students. So I encourage you to get out there and maintain that human connection. Reach out to somebody. You make a difference in the lives of your students. I really want to emphasize this. Is don't forget, as an adaptive PE specialist, you make a difference. Now, this is the little board that we have at the high school that I see every day, and it says right here, be somebody who makes everybody feel like a somebody. So we are there, whether it's virtual or in person, we're making a difference in the lives of our students. Okay, they matter to us and we matter to them. So never, never forget how important you are. Thank you for having me here today. I really enjoyed presenting, and thank you for having me as a presenter. Thank you for being here to listen to my presentation. So I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Thank you very, very much.